Let me tell you something I've learned from selling real estate in New York City for decades. Everyone wants a piece of the pie. The problem? That pie keeps getting more expensive. For many people, especially young professionals and families, the dream of owning a home feels like it's slipping further and further away. They're stuck paying rent, building someone else's equity month after month. It's a frustrating cycle, and I've seen it break the spirits of some of the most ambitious people you'll ever meet. But what if I told you there was a new way to get your foot in the door? A way to own a slice of a property without needing a massive down payment. This isn't some far-fetched fantasy. It's called fractional real estate. Think of it like buying a share of a company's stock. But instead of a company, you're buying a piece of a physical building, a condo in Miami, a cabin in the mountains, or even an apartment in your own city. You co-own the property with a small group of other people, and your ownership stake is directly proportional to your investment. It's a simple idea, but its implications are huge. It tears down the biggest barrier to entry in real estate, the prohibitively high cost of buying a whole property by yourself. This model is fundamentally changing the conversation about property ownership. It's no longer an all-or-nothing game. You don't have to choose between the financial dead end of renting and the overwhelming commitment of a 30-year mortgage. Fractional ownership offers a third path, a flexible and affordable middle ground. It allows you to start building equity, benefit from property appreciation, and even earn a little income on the side, all while investing an amount that fits your budget. This is about making real estate accessible to everyone, not just the wealthy. The beauty of this concept is its simplicity and its power to democratize one of the most reliable wealth-building tools in history. For generations, real estate has been the bedrock of financial security for the middle class. But that foundation has been cracking. Fractional ownership is here to patch those cracks. It's a modern solution for a modern problem, leveraging technology and a shared economy mindset to reopen the door to property ownership for a new generation of aspiring investors and homeowners. It's time to stop thinking about owning a home and start thinking about owning a piece of one. Let's be honest, the traditional options on the housing ladder have their own sets of headaches. Take renting. On one hand, it's flexible. You can move when your lease is up, and you don't have to worry about a leaky roof or a broken water heater. That's the landlord's problem. But that flexibility comes at a steep price. Every rent check you write is money you'll never see again. You're paying someone else's mortgage, helping them build wealth while your own net worth stays flat. You can't paint the walls your favorite color, and you live with the constant uncertainty that your rent could spike or your lease might not be renewed. Then you have full home ownership. This is the classic American dream, right? You own the place, you build equity, and you have total freedom to make it your own. It's your castle. But let's get real, owning that castle is a massive financial and emotional commitment. You need a huge down payment, you're on the hook for a mortgage for the next 30 years, and every single repair, tax bill, and insurance premium is your responsibility. It ties up a huge amount of your capital in one single illiquid asset. For many, this dream feels more like a financial straitjacket than a symbol of freedom. This is where fractional ownership steps in as the smart in-between. It cherry-picks some of the best parts of both renting and owning. Like renting, the initial financial outlay is much lower, and you aren't solely responsible for the property's upkeep. But like owning, you're building equity. As the property's value increases, so does the value of your share. You're no longer just paying to live somewhere, you're investing. You get the financial upside of ownership without the crushing weight of a massive mortgage and sole responsibility for maintenance. So you get a taste of ownership, the equity, the pride, the potential for appreciation, but with the lower barrier to entry and reduced liability that feels more manageable. It's not about replacing traditional homeownership entirely. It's about providing a much-needed alternative for those who are priced out, not ready for the full commitment, or simply want to diversify their investments. Fractional ownership creates a new rung on the property ladder, one that's much easier to reach for millions of people who were previously stuck on the ground floor looking up. So, you're probably thinking, this sounds great, Barbara, but how does it actually work? It's simpler than you might think. The process usually starts with a specialized company, often a tech platform, that identifies a promising property. This could be anything from a trendy urban loft to a sprawling vacation villa. They do all the hard work up front, vetting the property, handling the legal paperwork, and setting up a limited liability company, or LLC. This LLC is the legal entity that will officially own the property, which is a crucial step for protecting all the investors involved. Once the LLC is formed, the company divides the ownership of that LLC into shares, almost like slices of a pizza. A single property might be divided into 8, 12, or even more shares. Each share represents a percentage of ownership in the property. The company then lists these shares for sale on its platform. This is where you come in. You can browse different properties, review the financials, and decide how many shares you want to buy. The price per share is a fraction of the total property value, making it far more affordable than buying the whole thing. After you purchase your share or shares, you become a part owner of the property. Congratulations! Now what does that mean for you? Depending on the model, you might get rights to use the property for a certain number of weeks per year, or if it's a purely investment property, you'll receive a proportional cut of any rental income it generates. The fractional ownership company typically handles all the day-to-day headaches, like finding tenants, collecting rent, and managing maintenance and repairs. They take a small management fee for their services, which is paid for collectively by the owners. This structure is what makes the whole thing work so smoothly. You get the financial benefits of being a landlord without the late-night calls about a clogged toilet. All the costs, property taxes, insurance, maintenance, and management fees are split among the co-owners according to their ownership percentage. It's a professional, hands-off approach to property investment. You simply invest your money, and the platform and property manager take care of the rest, sending you your share of the profits and providing regular updates on your investment's performance. Let's make this real. Imagine a beautiful 4-bedroom beachfront villa in a sunny, desirable location. To buy it outright would cost you a cool $2 million. For 99% of people, that's just not happening. Even if you could afford it, do you really plan on using it 52 weeks a year? Probably not. Most vacation homeowners only use their properties for a few weeks, and the rest of the time it sits empty, costing them money in taxes, insurance, and upkeep. It's a classic case of a valuable asset being seriously underutilized, a business mistake I see all the time. Now let's apply the fractional model. A company buys this $2 million villa and places it into an LLC. They decide to split the ownership into 8 equal shares. Each share therefore represents a 1/8 ownership stake and costs $250,000. That's still a lot of money, but it's a world away from $2 million. Suddenly, owning a piece of this luxury paradise is within reach for a much larger group of people. 8 different families or individuals can now co-own this incredible asset, sharing both the costs and the benefits in a way that makes perfect financial sense. So you buy one of the 8 shares for $250,000. What do you get? Your ownership grants you the right to use the villa for a certain amount of time each year. With 8 owners, everyone typically gets about 6 weeks of access. The company managing the property has a sophisticated and fair scheduling system, so everyone gets a chance to use the home during peak season as well as the off-season. When you arrive for your stay, the home is professionally cleaned, fully stocked, and ready for you to enjoy, just like a 5-star hotel. But here's the best part. When you're not using the villa, the management company can rent it out to vacationers. The rental income generated helps cover the property's annual operating costs, such as taxes, insurance, and maintenance. Any profit left over is then distributed among you and the other 7 owners based on your share. So not only do you get to vacation in a multi-million-dollar home, but your ownership stake is also a smart investment that helps pay for itself and can even generate passive income. That's how you turn a luxury into a financially sound asset. So let's talk about the 2 sides of the coin here. Because honestly, the advantages of fractional real estate are a win-win for both folks who want to live in or use the property, and those who are just looking to invest. For someone who might otherwise be a long-term renter, probably the biggest benefit is finally getting on the property ladder. Instead of your housing payment just vanishing into a landlord's pocket, a portion of it actually goes toward building your own equity. You get that financial stability and wealth-building potential that comes with ownership, without having to save for like decades just to scrape together a down payment. It's a pretty powerful tool for closing the wealth gap. For investors, the appeal is just as strong. Real estate has always been a great way to diversify your investment portfolio, but, the high cost of entry has kept a lot of small-scale investors out of the game. Fractional ownership totally changes that. You can now invest in a high-value property for as little as a few $1,000s in some cases. This lets you spread your capital across multiple properties in different locations, which really helps reduce your risk. You're not putting all your eggs in one basket anymore. You can own a piece of a condo in Austin, an apartment in Chicago, and even a vacation home in Florida. Another huge plus is flexibility. For users of a vacation property, you only pay for what you'll actually use, so it eliminates the waste of an empty home just sitting there. And for renters of a primary residence, some fractional models are building in options to increase your ownership stake over time, eventually letting you buy the whole property outright if you want. This rent-to-own on steroids gives people a clear and achievable path to full home ownership. It really gives you control over your housing future in a way that traditional renting just can't, and it helps foster a sense of stability and community. And hey, let's not forget the passive income potential. For both types of owners, being able to earn money from the property is a major draw. In a residential property, if you decide to move, you don't necessarily have to sell your shares. You can keep them and earn your portion of the rental income, turning your former home into an income-producing asset. This kind of financial agility is almost impossible to achieve with traditional homeownership. It's just a smarter, more dynamic way to think about real estate as a part of your financial life. Now, I'm a straight shooter and I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't talk about the challenges. Fractional real estate is a fantastic concept, but it's not a magic bullet. One of the biggest hurdles is liquidity. Selling a share of a property isn't as simple as selling a stock on the New York Stock Exchange. You can't just click a button and have your cash in 2 days. The market for these shares is still young and developing. You need to find a buyer, and that can take time. Most platforms have their own secondary markets, but they don't yet have the volume of the public markets. Then, there's the question of who's in charge. When you co-own a property with a group of strangers, you're placing a lot of trust in the management company. They are responsible for everything from maintenance and repairs to screening tenants and managing the finances. If the management company does a poor job, it can negatively affect the property's value and your return on investment. You have to do your homework and choose a reputable platform with a proven track record. Don't just fall in love with the property, investigate the people running the show. Regulatory issues are another area to watch. Because this is a relatively new industry, the rules and regulations are still evolving. This can create uncertainty. Different states and countries have different laws governing real estate, securities, and property management. Navigating this legal landscape can be complex, and it's essential that the fractional ownership company is fully compliant. As an investor, you want to be sure your ownership rights are clearly defined and legally protected, so you don't run into any nasty surprises down the road. Finally, you have to consider the potential for conflict among co-owners. While the management company handles most day-to-day decisions, major issues, like a significant renovation or a decision to sell the entire property, might require a vote among the owners. What happens if you disagree with the majority? These agreements are all laid out in the LLC's operating agreement, but it's a dynamic you don't have to deal with when you're the sole owner. It's crucial to understand the governance structure and your rights before you invest in a property with other people. Let me tell you about Sarah, a graphic designer in her early 30s living in Denver. She had a good job, but with student loans and the city's skyrocketing home prices, saving for a 20% down payment on even a small condo felt like an impossible dream. She was paying over $2,000 a month in rent for a one-bedroom apartment, and she was painfully aware that this money was doing nothing to build her future. She felt stuck, watching her friends who had bought homes years ago see their net worth climb while she was treading water. It was a story I've heard 1,000 times. One day, Sarah came across an article about a fractional real estate platform that was offering shares in residential properties right there in Denver. She was skeptical at first, but the idea intrigued her. She started researching and found a newly renovated 2-bedroom condo in a great neighborhood that the platform had acquired. The total value was $500,000, but it was being offered in 50 shares, priced at $10,000 each. She had been saving diligently and had about $25,000 set aside. The math started to click in her head. Instead of trying to buy the whole condo, Sarah decided to buy 2 shares for $20,000. This made her a 4% owner of the property. The platform had already placed a vetted tenant in the condo, and the rent they collected was more than enough to cover the mortgage, taxes, insurance, and management fees. After all the expenses were paid, the remaining profit was distributed to the owners. Every month, Sarah received a direct deposit for her 4% share of the net rental income. It wasn't a huge amount, but it was passive income she was earning from her own asset. More importantly, Sarah was now a homeowner, at least in part. She was building equity. Over the next 2 years, the Denver real estate market continued to appreciate. The value of her condo went up by 15%, and so did the value of her shares. She was no longer just watching from the sidelines, she was in the game. Her small investment had given her a foothold in one of the country's hottest markets. Sarah's story shows that fractional ownership isn't just a theory, it's a practical tool that is helping real people like her start building wealth through real estate. The implications of fractional real estate go far beyond just helping a few people buy a vacation home. This has the potential to fundamentally reshape our entire concept of property ownership and the American dream itself. For generations, that dream has been defined by a single-family house with a white picket fence. But that vision is becoming increasingly outdated and unattainable for a growing number of Americans. Fractional ownership offers a new, more inclusive version of that dream, one that is more flexible, accessible, and better suited to the realities of our modern economy. Think about the impact on urban centers. Cities are where the jobs and opportunities are, but they are also where housing is most expensive. Fractional ownership could allow more people who work in the city to own a piece of it, even if they can't afford to buy a full apartment. This could lead to more stable communities, as people who have an ownership stake, even a small one, are more invested in the well-being of their neighborhoods. It combats the transient nature of a purely rental-based population and fosters a deeper sense of belonging and civic pride. This model also has the power to unlock trillions of dollars in dormant equity. Consider all the retirees who are house-rich but cash-poor. They own valuable homes but live on fixed incomes. Fractional ownership could allow them to sell off a portion of their home's equity, generating cash to fund their retirement without having to move or take on a reverse mortgage. It gives them a way to tap into their largest asset while staying in the home they love. This creates a new source of liquidity for homeowners and a new supply of fractional properties for investors. Ultimately, fractional real estate is about democratizing access to wealth. For too long, the best real estate investment opportunities have been reserved for the wealthy and well-connected. This model breaks down those barriers, using technology to level the playing field. It allows anyone with a few $1,000s to invest alongside seasoned professionals and benefit from property appreciation and rental income. It's a powerful shift that could help reduce economic inequality and give more people the chance to build a secure financial future for themselves and their families. So can fractional real estate revolutionize renting? My answer is a resounding yes. It has the potential to transform renting from a passive expense into an active investment. It offers a powerful solution to the housing affordability crisis by providing a viable, accessible stepping stone between renting and full ownership. It's not just a niche product for luxury vacation homes anymore. It's expanding into primary residences, urban apartments, and commercial properties. It's a fundamental shift in how we think about, use, and invest in the spaces where we live and work. We've seen how it works. Companies identify properties, create LLCs, and sell shares to individual investors. This process lowers the cost of entry, reduces risk through shared ownership, and provides professional management, making property investment a hands-off, passive experience. It offers the financial upside of ownership, equity growth, and rental income, without the overwhelming financial burden and day-to-day responsibilities of being a sole landlord. It's a smarter, more efficient model for the 21st century economy. Of course, it's not without its challenges. The industry is still young, and issues around liquidity, regulation, and management are real concerns that need to be addressed as the market matures. As with any investment, you have to do your homework, understand the risks, and partner with reputable companies. But the potential is undeniable. We are at the beginning of a major transformation in the real estate industry, one that promises to make property ownership more attainable and equitable for millions of people. Now, I want to hear from you. This is a conversation, and every great innovation is shaped by the people who use it. What are your thoughts on fractional real estate? Do you see it as a game changer, or are you skeptical about its long-term viability? Have you invested in a fractional property yourself, or are you considering it? Share your experiences, your questions, and your opinions in the comments below. Let's figure out the future of real estate together.